Good morning, everybody. Just a quick update for these lead-alum batteries. It's been overnight now. It is now the morning. I charged this guy on about 100 milliamps all night, and he was on a bit more than 100 milliamps. This is at 3 volts. I had it on 200 milliamps before from dinner till bedtime, and then I dropped it down to 100, and it was down to 80 milliamps when I got up in the morning. Now, it didn't really have a very stable voltage when I disconnected the charging. I've got it back on 30 milliamps at the moment, try and correct the voltage. I'd like to drop down to around 1.5 volts. But what I wanted to show you that I thought was really cool is that, especially just after you disconnect some charging, I'll get my leads untangled here. If we look at this multimeter, it's still plugged in, so I'm just going to hook this negative up to the positive side of the multimeter, and it'll show me a negative amps figure here, and it'll show me how hard it can drain this battery out. So we're just about hit 1.8. It is dropping pretty hard. It's going to drop below 1.8. I can promise you that. But watch the amps. That's set in the milliamp scale at the moment. 1 amp. Milliamps is the last 3. There was 1.8 amps coming out of this thing. You notice the voltage has dropped real low. But look at those amps. It's 200 milliamps, 270 milliamps, 220. It's jumping around a bit, but look how low the voltage is. 1.13 volts, and I'm getting over 100 milliamps. And it just keeps going and going and going. This thing's making the Energizer Bunny look pretty pathetic, I reckon. I don't know what the shelf life's going to be, and I might have damaged its maximum voltage storage that it'll have by charging it really hard a lot. But look at those milliamps. We're down under 0.01 of a volt. We've got 0.05 of a volt there, and we're still getting 90 milliamps. Nearly 100 milliamps. How low is this thing going to go? This is just a dead short, but that's a lot of amps from not many volts. This thing's going to be great for jewel thieves and things like that. All those amps off low volts. I am getting some rusty wires though. Steel wire, no good. So it's not going to last long. So I'm going to torch the buggery out of this battery. I'm going to charge it hard, I'm going to charge it slow, I'm going to drain it hard, and I'm going to drain it slow. I'm going to do everything I can think of to it to torture it. And we're going to see what we can get out of this thing. Look at that, we're down to 0.02 of a volt, and we've still got 56 milliamps, 55. It's dropping pretty slow for a dead short, I reckon. Now I'll take it off and we'll watch the recovery. Look at that, straight back up to 0.6. So I don't think we're going to have any problems getting a 0.6 of a volt shelf life. I don't know if it's going to sit at 1.6. It doesn't seem to like doing that. It likes to drop down to the 1.5s pretty quickly, and it's still been dropping every time I've put a load or another charge back on it. I haven't let it sit static after a charge at below 1.5 volts yet. I have been doing some reading on these things. There are a couple of rumours around on the net that you can get these cells up to 2 volts. I have no idea if that's true or if it's possible, or if so, how to do it. So play around at home, people, and see what you get. Now, Big Greeny over here has also done its first charge. It did a little while on 12 volts at high power yesterday. It even did some time at 20 volts at 7 amps. If I finish editing that video, you'll see what happened there. It's quite entertaining. Now, after I left it on that, I did a big charge for a little bit just to get it set, and then since then I've had it charging. I've taken it off charge now. It charged on 30 milliamps all night. You can see I've got this one set when I plug this positive in. It's going to make a liar of me because the voltage is wrong. Oh yeah, look, I'm on the 10 amp scale. That is 30 milliamps. So I was sitting at about 2.4 volts this morning after doing all night at 30 milliamps. I'll just take that off the charge again. and it stayed at 1.8 quite happily for some time. This morning, after a big long charge, I have been playing with it a bit this morning, there has been some discharging. Now this one's just got two really big fat plates in there, two of these sinkers hammered flat. And it's probably not the best battery, a few things went wrong when I was mixing it up, but I thought mixing up the alum, as you can see, a lot of it never even dissolved properly, it's just sitting in the bottom of the jar there. But there is as high a dissolve rate as you can get up here. It's also got some green contamination from some stainless steel spoon that I was using to stir it that turned green and started to dissolve. Watch out for your good spoons, people. But where that other little tiny cell was putting out over an amp and 200 milliamps at tiny voltages for some time, this one doesn't seem... I'm going to have to change that voltage scale. This one, I haven't seen this one go over 20 milliamps draw. That's all it'll do. 20 milliamps, but it has only had one charge. It's only had its first charge, first 8 hours on 30 milliamps. So, as you can see, the voltage doesn't drop off a lot. This one seems to hold really good, steady volts. So I think heavy charging, really high powered charging, lots of amps, compared to the amp hour capability of your battery will lower your total voltage, I think. Just the theory at the moment, but if you guys want to play with this, if you're replicating it yourself, I think you're going to get better shelf life, and this is the same with the lead acid battery. You hit them hard to start with, and then once they start to fill up a bit, you really back off that charge. Get it right down load or trickle charge for as long as possible. So I'm going to not charge this one hard for a little bit and see if it stays only putting out the 20 milliamps. I'll never charge it above 30 for the next couple of days. But then after that, if it's still holding stable voltages, and I'm aiming to try and get a shelf life of at least a few days without serious voltage drop, then I might try charging it really hard again and see what that does to it. Okay, that's about it from me today. Quickly, this other battery that I was showing yesterday, positive terminal still disattached. It still actually has a tiny bit of voltage in it. Look at that, 1.4. And this morning when I got up, let's see this way, you can see both. Negative lead fell out. This morning when I got up, this was actually sitting quite a long way out of the fluid, and it had lower voltage than what it shows now. And all I did, it had evaporated a bit overnight. I think maybe I'd left it sitting badly. All I did was just poke that positive terminal back in the water, and it doesn't seem to be changing again. Now it's wet. As soon as that positive terminal poked back into the water and started soaking up a bit of fluid, don't know what's going on there. I think I touched the negative terminal, negative sinker. It does work again, and that's only got one positive sinker. It's got heaps on the negative, and there's a whole bunch of others that were positives that fell off. I think I had 8 on each side. But the copper wire just dissolves, so don't use copper wire, people. But they do seem to have a bit of potential. I'm quite impressed that I just abandoned this one. Put a bit of load on it for a little while and abandoned it, and it keeps sitting up around 1.3, 1.4 volts. So they do regenerate fairly well. So back to torch testing this guy. I'm going to get back to it. I hope you guys have a great day, and thank you for watching.